On December 15th of the long, long ago, something weird and wonderful happened at the old Almont Town Hall Theater. Wonderful, yes, but mostly weird. A Christmas special brought to you by the Tasty Tater Nug Players and Adipose Bakery's Endowment for the Arts. This was a podcast for the ages. The case of Nicholas Klaus versus Krampus D. Mon. Now, please turn off your faces and open your ears for this special Adventure in Your Ear presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and now broadcasting to you live from Old Town Hall in Almont, Ontario, Canada, we bring to you the first annual Adventure in Your Ear Holiday Special. Starring your Tasty Tater Nug players, Tasty Tater Nugs from Adipose Bakeries, now for a limited time with fruitcake crust and a cranberry filling. You can literally taste the holidays. But first, a word from our sponsor.
This year's turkey looks amazing, dear.
Oh, why, thank you, dear. I've been cooking all day.
It tastes like it.
Oh, thank you, sweetie.
That's not a compliment. This bird is as dry as sandpaper.
Don't talk to your mother like that. She tries as hard as she can. She simply overcooked it a bit. Oh, sweet, merciful Christmas, Judith. This turkey tastes like a rat made love to a sand dune.
Like you're any better, Dad. I just bit into several bone shards, and I only ate the skin. Did you carve it with your teeth?
Why don't I take off my belt and give you some rosy cheeks, you smart-arse punk?
No need for physically abusing your adult child, sir. This crisis could have been avoided had you purchased an Adipose Bakery's Almost Bird.
What's an almost bird?
A better question is, who the hell are you, and how did you get in our house?
Well, I smelled failure from across the street, and so I climbed down your chimney in the holiday tradition.
I'll get the gun, dear.
No need for theatrics. I'm simply your local Adipose Bakery's representative here to solve your holiday troubles. With Almost Bird.
Okay, I'll bite. What's an almost bird?
I'm glad you asked. An Almost Bird is a new turkey, chicken, and duck substitute from the fine people at Adipose Bakeries, makers of bubbly brown, deep-fried tasty tater nugs, and fruitcake. It's a perfect holiday meal substitute that is ready for consumption in just 15 minutes. But don't take my word for it. Let's let Gary, head of our advanced genetics lab, tell you more.
This year, my team at the Adipose Bakery's Genetics Research and Development Facilities have been hard at work trying to create the perfect holiday protein for your consumption. What we've come up with is the Almost Bird, a skinless alternative to poultry that's been raised boneless.
What the hell is that?
It's an almost bird. See, there's a beak here, somewhere, right there under the... Is that a human ear? Yes, thanks to Brian.
Sorry.
Who is no longer allowed near the genetic materials vat.
I said I was sorry.
Are you saying that this product contains human DNA? Yes. Each almost bird contains 2% human DNA, Brian.
It's not my fault.
Well, those magazines weren't found in my desk, were they?
It just sort of happened.
It was a sealed container, Brian. We all make choices.
Gary, maybe you can move on to this self-brining.
Yes. Each almost bird has an interior brine sac membrane that bursts when heated to 350 degrees centigrade, infusing the almost bird's meat-like proteins with flavor and juice, thus keeping its surface tension intact. It sounds so easy. It is. After 15 minutes, when the beak dissolves and or the almost bird stops screaming, just set your oven to broil for that crispy skin-like texture. Wait, It's cooked alive? Alive is a loose term. I mean, are jellyfish really alive? Think about it. Yes, they are. Oh, because it is part jellyfish. I'm just going to put that on the table right now. It is mostly jellyfish. It's actually 78% jellyfish, 16% non-specific bird, 2% Brian, and like 4% peanut butter. And of course, the yak bovine fat renderings, holding it all together. You told me jellyfish were not alive, Brian. You lied again, Brian. You're a bad geneticist.
See, in the time it took Gary to tell you about this, your almost bird is ready. Whoops. Almost. Just wait for the death rattle. There we go. Remember, when it's almost time for your holiday dinner, think Almost Bird from Adipose Bakeries.
Dad, this tastes like jellyfish.
And what does jellyfish taste like?
Chicken?
Because jellyfish is the chicken of the sea.
Laughter.
Adipose Bakeries, an adventure in your ear, is proud to bring you tonight's holiday story, destined to become a classic Christmas tale.
Holiday Court is brought to you live in front of a studio audience by the good scientists at Adipose. When you don't know, it's Adipose. The story you're about to hear is fictional, and there is only a very low probability of it ever having happened. We hope. The scene is set in Fair Holiday Inn, Fall Meeting Room B, the one with the wonky coffee machine and the air conditioner stuck on high. The case being brought before the judge is historic, as it will decide once and for all the ownership of Christmas. This is the case of Krampus versus Santa Claus. The musical!
Wait, what are you talking about? Did he say that for real?
Not the musical?
No, not.
Fine. Why can't we ever do a musical? I mean, we've been having these trials for centuries. Can't we ever make it a bit more upbeat? With singing and dancing and Christmas fruitcake? No? No. Fine. Let's set the mood, shall we? 'Twas the trial before Christmas, and all through the court, not a witness was drinking, not even fine port. The jury was seated in a box by the wall with the hopes that the trial would conclude and not stall. The judge was all nestled up there in her nook, whilst Santa and Krampus each gave nasty looks. When up on the stand there arose such a noise that the judge banged the gavel and said,
Settle down, boys.
The Honorable Judge Mother Nature was here to decide over whom the property of Christmas at the end would reside.
As we all know, Mr. Claus has been majority shareholder of Christmas for many millennia. Mr. Krampus D. Mon has deposited lawsuit against Mr. Nicholas Claus for having stolen the holiday from him in the matter of a hostile takeover. Representing Mr. Krampus is the Honorable Ichthyophrasal Demonicus, Esquire. Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's more of an before the t and an a before the fr.
Actiophrasal?
Actiophrasal.
Wait. What?
It's old Sumerian. It's okay. Call me Phil. No one ever gets it right.
What do you put in a hole? Phil!
Who said that? Who said that? I'll drag your corpse straight to the...
Order in the court! Order in this court, or I shall have the gallery cleared. Mr. Phil, your case, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client, Mr. Krampus D. Mon, was the original owner of Christmas Incorporated. He took it from his father, who inherited it from his father, who lawfully stole it from some unknown pagan religion that had left it to rot.
How was it lawfully stolen?
Squatter's rights, Your Honor. You may refer to case number 5. Beelzebubs versus Droll, the unknown forest tribe.
Proceed.
Mr. Krampus, a family man with over 7,000 little imps of his own, allowed Mr. Klaus to come into the company on an entry-level position. Since that time, much has transpired that made Mr. Krampus regret that foolish decision. His foolishness Hush, you. His foolishness notwithstanding, Mr. Krampus was systematically bamboozled from his fair property and made to divest of his shares in said company until everything his family worked so hard to build was transferred in an underhanded way to that man's portfolio.
Let the record show that Phil has pointed at the defendant.
It's time for the defense to present its counterplay. Will Santa make his case and rule this Christmas day? The jury's looking bored, the gallery is tense. Now has come the time for the lawyer of defense.
We will now hear from the defense. Mr. Elamuel Gorps, Esquire, your statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Klaus, whom you see here, is innocent of these accusations. Mr. Klaus represents everything that is good in this holiday. He's brought smiles of joy to millions of children every single year for thousands of years. Even before he donned the red suit, he was a one-man operation bringing toys, fruit, and hallucinogenic mushrooms to... Okay. Scratch that last statement. Santa Claus brought happiness to the world's destitute and wealthy alike. His work is lauded along the same lines as his other peers. The Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, the Great Pumpkin, Gobbles the self-loathing turkey, and Justin Trudeau.
Objection, Your Honor. Justin Trudeau does not exist.
Overruled. Justin Trudeau is, in fact, a real boy. Mr. Phil, please try to refrain from interrupting opening statements. You'll have your turn. Mr. Gorps, please continue.
But nobody's ever seen him.
Your Honor, we will prove during the course of these proceedings that Santa Claus is the real Father Christmas, no matter what anyone else claims.
Thank you, Mr. Gorps. The opening statements now having been taken, Mr. Phil, will you please call the first witness for the plaintiff?
I would like to call to the stand Nicholas of Bari. Mr. Nicholas, do you swear to tell the truth?
I am a saint, my good man. I would do nothing less.
Nicholas of Myra, also known as Saint Nicholas of Bari. That is you.
It is I.
You are known as the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves, children, brewers, pawnbrokers, students in various levels of debts in various cities around the countries of the world and in Europe and whatnot.
So I've been told. Yes, but also of painters, butchers, bakers, and booty shakers.
The booty.
Yes, you know, those who get down on the dance floor, that get their thang on, the rump rompers, the proverbial butt jigglers,
I think we get the meaning, sir. Anything else?
Oh, most definitely, but I can't recall at the moment. I have been dead for quite some time.
Yes, sir, you have. I apologize for the need to drag you back from the afterlife for this unpleasant business. But you were known in life as a generous man, were you not?
Objection, Your Honor! This man's life has nothing to do with the allegations brought against my client. The counsel for the plaintiff is wasting the court's time.
Mr. Phil?
I beg the court's indulgence, Your Honor. Establishing the witness's credentials is paramount to the allegations that we bring against the defense.
Objection overruled.
Damn it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nicholas, did you or did you not give up your entire inheritance to 3 women to save them from a life of prostitution?
I did, sir.
Condemnable.
I think you mean commendable?
No, I know what I said. A very generous act. And what did you ask in return?
Nothing at all. Of course, the ladies were very grateful. The weekly fellatio at confession was thanks enough.
Yes. I believe we've established the witness's credentials. Saint Nick, do you know the accused who is also known as Saint Nick?
Well, he's much older than I remember and longer in the beard, but I'd recognize those rosy cheeks and that twinkle in his eye anywhere.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, Santa, don't do that.
I'm sorry. Exactly how did you know him?
I met him in the Greek town of Myra. He was a merchant of sweets from northern Saxony, Klaus of Saxony.
Can we let the record show that northern Saxony in the early 4th century is now known as Germany?
Let it be noted.
So, what were the exact circumstances that brought you into contact with Mr. Klaus?
Well, I was making my rounds down at the dock. You know, missionary work. This is centuries before Tinder, and this great barrel of a man, a northern barbarian, was handing out samples of his confections. He called them candy canes. His charisma was infectious and undeniable. Or was that the plague? No, wait. Both are true statements. Anyhow, clearly he was a shrewd businessman.
Objection! That last line is pure conjecture, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Nicholas, please continue.
Well, I felt the need to get to know him. After many jugs of wine, we left the Dock Tavern, and there were 3 women begging outside. And just like that, with a great ho, 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 he vowed to take them back to Saxony and present them to his chieftain as concubines. Or at least that's what I understood when he got on the saxophone to call them. It was all in ancient German, so I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I could not allow this. The inheritance I gave up for those women went to that man, Mr. Klaus. He must have used my money to steal my identity as well.
Order!
I object!
Mr. Phil, is there a point to this?
Pure conjecture, Your Honor.
Overruled. The plaintiff has a right to establish the character of his witness.
But not in order to attack the character of the accused.
Overruled, Mr. Gorps.
Very well. Mr. Nicholas, after Mr. Klaus left the city, what changed for you in your day-to-day?
Well, I felt I had lost my sense of purpose. Until that time, I was the one who showered people with gifts in my area. After that, I drifted for years. I slept under bridges. I helped students with their homework once in a while. And I did bless some mead, but I felt my true purpose had been taken from me by the usurping St. Nicholas.
Would you say he stole everything from you and left you penniless in the streets of your own city? A vagrant, a bum, a worthless satchel of yak's manure unfit for even the smallest of shepherd's fires?
That's harsh, yo. Homeless people have feelings too, you know.
Objection, leading the witness.
Sustained. Mr. Phil, you will refrain from putting words in your witness's mouth.
Sorry, Your Honor. I was merely trying to show that this man has done to others what he has done to my client. Why do people keep pointing at me? I didn't do anything.
I know, Santa. I know. Just don't say another word, please. Just shh.
Order. Do you have any other questions for the witness, Mr. Phil?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Witness to the defense. You're up, Mr. Gorps.
Thank you, Your Honor. Batter up. Just kidding. Mr. Nicholas of Bari, a.k.a. Nicholas of Myra. It's been said you participated in the Council of Nicaea in 325. Is that correct?
I don't see how that has any...
Just answer the question, Mr. Nicholas. You yourself have said in the past that it was, and I quote, quite a rocking party, end quote.
Well, verily, it was quite the shindig. I remember this one time where Hosius of Cordoba and I were doing mad bong hits.
Objection irrelevant to the case.
Overruled. The defense can also establish the witness's credentials.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you were definitely there. How do you explain that no one saw you or even recorded your presence?
If I remember correctly, the secretary was incredibly hungover that day.
During the entire 2-week proceedings?
Those were crazy times.
I'd like to posit that Mr. Nicholas's presence was not recorded because Mr. Nicholas did not attend the Council of Nicaea.
Objection!
And that his testimony is a sham.
Objection!
Without putting Mr. Nicholas's character under scrutiny, it can safely be said that if Mr. Nicholas is willing to lie about being at the biggest event in Christendom, he would be willing to lie about everything else. No further questions, Your Honor.
Objection!
Order in the court. I will have order. Order.
No further questions, Your Honor.
The defense is, of course, referring to the Council of Nicaea of 325, where the holiness and provenance of Jesus was discussed at length over fine wine, crazy disco nights, yummy fruitcake, and sober reflection. Deck the halls with wine and disco, fa la 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 la.
If the narrator is quite done with trying to turn this into a musical, I will ask the plaintiff to call their next witness.
Your Honor, I call Hodur, son of Frigga and brother of Baldur, to the stand.
Frigga's son, bro of Baldur.
Ahem.
Sorry, Your Honor, I just can't help myself.
Be that as it may, please carry on, Mr. Phil.
Mr. Hodur, you are known as the most beautiful and beloved of the Norse gods, correct?
No, that was my brother.
Was?
Well, yes, my brother Baldur was the most beloved of the gods until I killed him.
I'm sorry. Mr. Hodur, am I expected to believe that a blind man murdered his own brother in cold blood?
No, it wasn't like that. It was an accident.
Or was it an elaborate plot devised by Mr. Klaus?
Objection, leading the witness.
Sustained. Mr. Phil, please rephrase the question.
Apologies, Your Honor. Mr. Hodur, let us start at the beginning. You and your brother Baldur were running a thriving mistletoe business, correct?
Mother Nature is so delightful.
Why, thank you.
But to some, she's downright frightful.
Yes, I can be.
But for Baldur, she let one go.
Slipped my mind.
Mistletoe, mistletoe, mistletoe.
Yes, I think we get the point. Mr. Hodur, if you would please answer Mr. Phil's question.
Sorry, I was so entertained I forgot the question.
You and your late brother Baldur were running a thriving mistletoe business. Is this correct?
Correct. Despite mistletoe being the only thing in nature able to kill my brother, he had cornered the market on mistletoe. My brother Baldur had a real thing about facing his fears, you know?
I do. And everything was going well.
Extraordinarily well, with the sale of mistletoe giving our patrons an excuse to coerce the opposite sex into fraternization because it's tradition. We were making coin hand over fist.
And that's when Santa decided you were encroaching on his holiday.
Well, no.
Leading the witness.
Sustained.
Yes.
So, this is when Santa got involved.
Well, not directly.
No, he sent Loki the trickster god to help you instead.
Your Honor.
I'll allow it. But Mr. Phil, you had better get to the point. We have to go to commercial shortly. Go ahead, Mr. Hodur.
Yes, Santa and Baldur were good friends, and so when we had a huge influx of orders that we just couldn't fill, Santa offered the assistance of one of his little helpers.
But he did not send one of his little helpers, did he?
Well, no. Our mutual friend Loki volunteered instead.
Loki, the infamous trickster god.
The same.
And within 24 hours, your brother was dead, impaled by mistletoe at your hands.
Yes, but it was an accident.
An accident wherein the trickster god passes a blind man a spear of mistletoe and points him in a direction that just so happens to bring him to impale his brother, whose only known weakness is a severe allergy to mistletoe.
Objection!
So would it not only stand to reason that the trickster god Loki was indeed sent there by Santa to kill his competitor, thus taking over the sale of mistletoe and thus furthering his monopoly on Christmas?
Objection!
No further questions.
You're a witness, Mr. Elaniel.
Mr. Hodur, while it is true that Mr. Klaus here has taken over your family business, can you please tell us where the profits from your brother's business are going currently?
Objection.
On what grounds?
I just don't think I'm going to like this answer very much.
Overruled.
Go ahead, Mr. Hodor.
Well, it's all coming to me, actually. Yes, Mr. Klaus took over operations, but he gives me all the profits to help with my medical needs.
Medical needs? Question mark?
Why, yes, being blind. I had always lived with my brother. He helped me with my day-to-day things, gave me employment. Now that I'm on my own, I have needs, like safety bars in my bathtub. And Mr. Klaus personally trained me my very own seeing eye, minty fresh breath reindeer, as well as gifting me walking candy canes. They come in packs of 24, replaceable anytime, which is handy because they keep mysteriously disappearing.
Well, I guess you could say that Mr. Klaus is a very kind and giving man who keeps the spirit of Christmas alive in his heart.
Absolutely. He's always been a good friend, and aside from his terribly violent temper, he's the kindest man I know.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gorps, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, the defense calls Loki, god of mischief. Loki, god of mischief, this is you?
Yes?
You are a friend and colleague to my client, Mr. Klaus.
Oh, yes, we are tighter than that cheap tie you're wearing.
Indeed. Let's get back to the day that you offered Mr. Klaus to help take care of Baldur and Hodor.
No, I was to take care of Baldur. Hodor was just to be included.
I'm sorry?
Santa specifically said to take care of Baldur and include Hodor. Wink, wink. Let the record show that Loki is winking exaggeratedly at the council.
I'm sorry. Are you insinuating that my client was contracting you to kill Mr. Baldur?
Oh, no. He was very clear. I was to take care of him. Wink, wink, wink.
Let's start over. On the day in question, my client, Mr. Klaus, was talking to the head of his elves union to see what help they could extend to Baldur and his brother.
Yes, I remember it quite well, but I think I could tell it best through a flashback.
Your Honor, the defense requests permission to submit a flashback into evidence.
I'll allow it.
Go ahead, Mr. Loki.
It all started on a snowy Sunday at the North Pole. Santa was throwing his annual Nog Till You Drop party for his employees, family, and friends. He was on the phone with a very distraught Baldur who could not make the party because he and his brother were so overwhelmed with mistletoe orders.
You're also Baldur. That's terrible. But I'm very proud of your thriving business endeavor, my friend. Is there anything at all that I can do to alleviate your stress? Maybe a weekend at the spa? A nice back massage, perhaps? Oh, I see, yes, of course. Well, let me talk to the head of my elves union to see if we can't lend you a hand. Okay, I'll call you back as soon as I know anything. You're welcome. Bernard, can you come over here after you're done with that Bognog hit?
What can I do for you, boss man?
Bernard, our dear friend Baldur is having troubles filling this year's mistletoe orders. I wonder if one of your elves would be willing to go over there and...
Man, let me stop you right there, Tubby. First of all, no can do. As the head of the Elves Candy and Toy Union 303, I can tell that the union strictly forbids any elf employed by the Christmas Corporation from moonlighting at any other said corporation. That's in Article 14B of the Charter. Secondly, Baldur, as head of Mistletoe Incorporated, should have kept better track of his purchase orders, both incoming and outgoing. Third and finally, don't interrupt me, that guy's a mook, for hiring his blind brother to help him fulfill the role of gluing those tiny, intricate plastic berries to every mistletoe bouquet.
Well, that is a bit harsh. Where is your Christmas spirit, Bernard?
It's right over there next to the punch bowl where I'm trying to seal the deal with the only female elf who works here. Seriously, you really gotta work on a little diversity in workplace, Klaus. Seriously, we're all pasty white and male. How are we supposed to perpetuate elvendom anyhow? Anyway, if you want to take care of Baldur, you can ask somebody else to get their hands dirty.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I could not help but overhear. There's someone who needs taking care of.
Oh, why, Loki, are you offering your assistance?
Why, yes. I'd love to take care of Baldur for you.
Well, that's very generous.
Generous? No. There's still a matter of my fee.
Your fee?
Well, of course. One does not take care of someone for free, even during the holiday season. I'm a professional, after all.
Well, I have very little to offer, Loki. I give most of all my profits to charity and to my workers.
But you do have a large surplus of candy canes, do you not?
I suppose. How many would you desire?
I would require 1 full yak's weight of your candy canes for my services.
What is a yak?
It's like a reindeer, only more cow-like and much shaggier. They're very rare around these parts. Their piss goes for quite a lot on the Moor's market. It makes a fine mayonnaise base.
What is a mayonnaise?
It's a sandwich spread, used heavily with leftover Christmas turkey.
For those of you not in the know, Loki's obsession with yaks is well documented and first presented in episode 1 of Claycare Fallen Aesir of Asgard.
Indeed it is. Why don't you tell the audience where they can listen to that particular podcast? I love a good product placement.
Sure, why not? Just visit adventureinyour.podbeam.com or like us on Facebook, facebook.com/AIYE podcast.
If you're quite finished interrupting this flashback, I'd like to get back at it. Oh, now, where was I? Oh, yes, Santa was about to happily double my request.
Loki, in the spirit of giving, I'd happily double your request.
There you have it.
If only you would properly take care of Baldur.
Ah, then we have a deal. I'll take care of Baldur in the next 40 hours, 48 hours tops.
Well, that's a rather tall order and a lot of work in such a short time.
Not really. I'm very efficient when I take care of a problem.
Wonderful. One more thing. Can you try to involve Hodor somehow? I'd like to make him feel useful.
Oh, even better. I love a good scapegoat.
I'm sorry?
Have my payment ready by Monday. This is going to be fun. And that's how I was hired to take care of Baldur by Santa.
Mr. Loki, you do realize that you have incriminated yourself with this flashback.
Not at all. I think that I was rather vague about the entire thing.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Very well, Phil. You may cross-examine.
Loki, trickster god, god of mischief. Did you kill Baldur for Santa?
No.
No? I'll remind you that you're under oath.
And I remind you that I tricked Hodor into doing it for me.
No further questions, Your Honor.
At this point, I think the court will take a short recess. We will reconvene in 15 minutes.
Have a jolly holly recess. It's the best time of the show. In 15 minutes, we'll be back. I hope you stay, not go.
At this point, we will take a short intermission, folks, and there are treats at the back, and all the profits are going to the hub.
Treats and fun.
So what do you guys want to do tonight?
Same thing we always do.
Try to take over the world.
Hit it.
Hit it.
Holiday Court is now back. brought to you in front of a live studio audience by the wizards at Adipose Bakeries. When it's not eggs, it's adipose. It's beginning to look a lot like mistrial. Everywhere you look, the judge looks cross and at a loss, ready to throw the book.
Order, order, I will have order. Mr. Emanuel Gorps, please call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense calls the head of the Elves Union, Bernard Housedown.
Call me Bernard.
Bernard, you were with the Christmas Corporation while under Krampus.
Yes, I have been with the company since its very beginnings, back before it became an actual holiday in the spirit of giving and whatnot.
Yes, those things were added later under Mr. Klaus. So, Bernard, things were not so jolly under Mr. Krampus, were they?
Look, a job is a job. Back then, the Christmas Corporation was a coal mining operation, and we elves were hired due to our stature. You could fit more of us in the holes, and the toxic fumes float above our heads, so it was a good fit. Elves used to be taller, but hey, Darwin was right.
Sounds like a dreadful experience.
Yeah, maybe for a white-collar schmuck like yourselves, but we elves love to get our hands dirty.
I assure you that as a lawyer, there's nothing clean about these hands.
Cute. I live for false equivalencies.
I don't know what that means. But surely, your working conditions were less than satisfactory. Krampus had 17 safety violations filed against him in a single year.
Listen, Krampus did what he could. Yes, we made less than minimum wage. Yes, we worked 18-hour days. But we had excellent medical and dental, along with a weekly coal allowance for heating our tiny company-provided living shacks. Krampus even gave us shares in the company.
And the safety issues?
That only started after times got hard and coal was less in demand.
You're speaking of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, that. People started to power things with, gas and gasoline and oil and stuff. Not much call for coal after that. The mines went into disrepair as money got tight. You can't blame Krampus for failing profits.
One could say it was due to poor management and an unwillingness to diversify.
Listen, I'm just a worker. I don't know all your fancy terms and such. I just know that things were not looking good for the company.
And that is approximately when my client, Mr. Klaus, came into the picture.
Yeah, Klaus shows up peddling his candy company brand canes. Now, Krampus notoriously hates sweets, but that don't bother Klaus not. The guy could sell salt to a snail. He tells Krampus that his secret ingredient would up productivity of his elves significantly if it fed it to us on an hourly basis.
Secret ingredient?
Yeah, but that was back before they discovered that cocaine was bad for you. We love those candy cocaines. Productivity went up and Krampus hired Klaus on to help with sales and marketing. Too bad the FDA made Klaus change the recipe after that whole thing that happened in the 50s. And then again in the 60s, after the DEA got involved. And of course, there was that thing with the CIA in the 70s. But they had absolutely no proof tying us to the cartels. Almost took down a president, though. Come to think of it, we tangled with a lot of acronyms through the years. Wonder why that is.
And how would you describe the relationship between Mr. Klaus and Mr. Krampus?
I don't catch your meaning.
I mean, did they get along? Was there any infighting between them? Was Mr. Klaus hostile?
The two of them did everything together and always put the company first. Saturday brunches were especially nice.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Phil, you may cross-examine.
Said the judge to Mr. Phil.
Said the judge to Mr. Phil.
You may cross-examine.
You may cross-examine.
Bernard, Things seemed dandy under Krampus, did they not?
It was a good job as any elf ever had.
So what changed? It seems that Mr. Klaus caused a major disruption to my client's entire operation in a very short period of time.
How's that?
Well, you yourself said everyone was quite happy under Krampus. Seems something had changed.
I already told you. People were not buying coal as much.
Would it surprise you to learn that Mr. Klaus owned shares in an Alberta oil company when he began working for Krampus?
That would, actually.
Indeed. And would you also be surprised to learn that Mr. Klaus's candy cocaines are petroleum-based?
Now that you mention it, that would explain the aftertaste.
Objection! Relevance?
Overruled. Get to the point, Mr. Phil.
I put forward that Mr. Klaus infiltrated the Christmas Corporation to sabotage my client's operation from his own interests.
Objection!
Overruled.
I further put forward that Mr. Klaus, owning shares of an oil company and working for Mr. Krampus, who ran a coal mining facility, was in direct conflict of interest. So I ask you now, Bernard, what changed after Mr. Klaus joined the company?
Well, within 2 years, we hit an all-time sales low, and we actually went a whole month without pay. We nearly had to close the mine.
And what happened to those shares you all had in the company?
Well, they all went straight down the toilet. They were practically worthless.
And what happened at that point?
Well, we had no money. We couldn't sell our shares. Half of us were hooked on candy canes. I myself was breaking into gingerbread houses to supply my habit. We were in a bad way.
Then along comes Mr. Klaus with a solution.
Yeah, he buys our shares.
He buys your shares. How kind of Mr. Klaus.
Yeah, but he buys them for more than triple their value. He saved our lives. He put that money right back into the company, walks right up to Krampus and puts a check in his hand.
And what percentage of the company were all those shares worth?
Including his own shares? I'd say about 52%.
52%! Suddenly, Mr. Klaus has a controlling share of the company by buying shares that have been greatly reduced in value due to his meddling. No further questions, Your Honor.
I never thought of it that way. Santa Claus, say it ain't so.
It wasn't like that, Bernard. I have always put you else first.
That'll be all, Mr. Bernard. You may step down. Will the defense please keep their client under control?
Apologies, Your Honor.
This whole time.
It will not happen.
Right. If there are no further witnesses, Mr. Phil, would your client like to speak on their own behalf?
Yes, Your Honor. I call my client Krampus Demon to the stand. Krampus, you are the original owner and CEO of the Christmas Corporation.
Yeah, that is I.
And can you explain to me in detail the occurrences that led to the hostile takeover of Christmas by Mr. Klaus whilst in your employ?
Well, I think I could do that best in song. But just because I'm a child-abducting demon means I don't have an appreciation for musical theatrics?
If the court allows, I would like to submit into evidence a song from my client as his testimony.
Well, the narrator has been trying to make this a musical all evening.
Really, I thought I was subtle. La 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 la.
Right? Why not? We already had a flashback. Why not a song?
A little percussion, if you will.
Remember, Klaus, I let you in and I got on my knees and begged you save my business and not be a jerk? Well, you came right in and then the days got worse and worse and now you know I'm completely out on my butt. And you took my Christmas away, ha ha. You took my Christmas away, ho ho, hee hee, ho ho. To the North Pole, where things are freezing all the time and freezing hooves don't work at 40 below. You took my Christmas away, ha ha. You thought my coal was a joke, and so you laughed when I had said that bankruptcy would make me flip. Right. You know you laughed, you heard you laughed and laughed and laughed, and then you stole my day and left me utterly mad. And you took my Christmas away, ha ha. You took my Christmas away,
Ho ho, hee hee, ho ho.
to the North Pole with toys and candy and drifts of snow and little elves who sit and smile. All my work you did defile. You took my Christmas away, ha ha. I gave you work, I bought your canes, and this is how you pay me back for all my kind and selfish loving deeds? What? Well, you just wait, I'll sue you yet, and when I do, they'll take your sleigh and put you out on your fat jolly butt. And you took my Christmas away, ha ha! You took my Christmas away,
Ho ho, hee hee, ho ho.
to the North Pole, where things are freezing all the time, and freezing herbs don't work at 40 below. You took my Christmas away, ha ha! To the happy place.
I'm sorry, Mr. Krampus. This is ridiculous. I'm going to ask the jury and the audience to ignore that ever happened.
Outrageous! I will not tolerate this blatant violation of my...
Mr. Phil, control your client.
I apologize, Krampus. I, for one, thought that song was quite lovely.
I was enjoying that, and I'm sure the audience was as well.
Objection, Your Honor. The song was horrendous.
Agreed. All reference to said song will be stricken from the record.
It's been stricken from the record. La, 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 la,
And if the
la.
narrator sings anything to deck the halls once more, I will have you removed from this hall. Do you comprehend?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
Isn't this exciting, folks?
Well, very well. There will be no further mention of that well-crafted song. Very well. Very good, Krampus. Krampus, let's start at the beginning. You were the owner and CEO of Christmas Corporation.
Yeah, I had been running a thriving coal mining empire for about 184 years. We had the best coal, the cleanest coal. My company single-handedly made coal great again.
I don't think that's a thing.
Trust me, I know coal. I had all the best coal. And I'd like to point out that before Crooked Klaus joined my team, we had the best profits ever. I was probably the best CEO the company had ever seen. I did the best job. I would give myself an A+.
Well, that's all well and good, but let's focus on Mr. Klaus. Why did you hire him? You're running a thriving business. Your employees are happy. Why bring in this unknown?
Well, I was tricked, obviously.
Obviously.
He showed up selling his sugary confections. Little did I know that his candy cocaines had actual cocaine in them. He gives me a free sample and got me all hepped on some very bad stuff, very bad. The worst. I'm a family man. I would never lower myself to ingesting common street drugs.
Of course not, of course not. So, what happened then?
Well, I'm hooked. I'm flying high, and he's talking me into diversifying my portfolio, adding the sales of candy to my business plan. It was his idea to get the workers hooked on candy to make them work faster.
Well, so far it sounds like he's only improving things.
It would have had he not decided to start giving away candy, and the next thing I know, we're making toys and giving those away too. He was bleeding me dry. Then he tells me we should move Christmas to the North Pole.
And did you agree to this?
Of course not. But then he buys out a 52% controlling share of the company, and the next thing I know, I'm living at the North Pole. My arthritic hooves couldn't take it.
But you stayed on and helped run things, correct?
I tried, I really did. But I'm a demon, you'll see. The extreme cold is literally killing me, so I had to move back to Germany.
And when you arrived at your ancestral home?
Klaus had sold it, all of it. I was homeless and with no direction left in life. So I took to stealing children and selling them on the black market. But only the naughty ones.
A once thriving businessman, left homeless and turned to crime to make ends meet. A tragedy. We seem to have a pattern. No further questions.
God rest ye prosecution, in everything dismay. Remember that the defense still has yet to say that Krampus is a lunatic and soon will go away.
Oh, tidings of candy canes and coal, candy canes and coal. Oh, tidings of candy canes and coal.
Mr. Gorps, you may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Krampus Demon, you say that you are homeless and have resorted to criminal activities to support yourself.
That is correct.
But do you not still have a 48% ownership of the Christmas Corporation?
Well, yes, but...
Which gives you an average profit of $847 billion with a B dollars per annum.
Yes, but those are not liquid assets.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Order! Order! Mr. Gorps, will your client be testifying on his own behalf?
He will, Your Honor.
Call your witness.
The defense calls Nicholas Klaus to the stand.
Silver bells, silver bells, silver bells, silver bells. It's Santa's time to bear witness. Ring-a-ling, ring-a-ling. He will sing, he will sing. Soon it will be verdict time.
Mr. Gorps, is your client really planning on singing?
It's not what we had planned, Your Honor, but we could certainly comply if the court wishes.
I'm sure that we could do without. Mr. Gorps, please continue.
Nicholas Klaus, would you call yourself a smart businessman?
Well, I'd say that my hundreds of years of being profitable while still giving away billions of dollars worth of toys and treats speaks for itself.
So it's fair to say that you have been a big asset to Christmas over the centuries.
As the proof's in the Christmas pudding.
Objection! There is no pudding present at this.
Sustained. Mr. Klaus, if you could please refrain from Christmas puns, I think that everyone would find you more tolerable. Continue, Mr. Gorps.
And how was the state of the Christmas Corporation when you arrived?
A crumbling pile of coal it was. Sales were in a steep decline. Krampus hired me on to help with sales and marketing, as that has always been my expertise, I think you might say. Well, that and acquiring concubines for my chieftain. As things got worse, I tried to convince him to diversify his portfolio.
Such as?
Well, sweets at first, but then there was a huge boom in the toy market that I thought we could take advantage of.
And what was Krampus's response?
Oh, kicking and screaming, mostly screaming. His family had been in coal for generations, and he was stuck in his ways.
And you left it at that?
At first. But then there was 1 month where things got so bad that the elves could not be paid. Our shares in the company were utterly worthless. Krampus locked himself in his office and didn't come out for days at a time. When he did, he'd yell at the employees and spout crazy conspiracies about bacon and snow persons and collusion and communists.
I stand by those theories.
Be that as it may, something had to be done. So I took my savings from my time as a candy vendor and offered to buy out the elves' shares in the company at triple their value.
So you now had a controlling share in Christmas. How did Krampus take that?
He went on a 3-week bender. He stopped production, he locked the employees out of the mines, and then he started adopting bad children.
So what did you do then? It seemed like it was all over at that point.
Bernard came to me saying that the elves had formed a union and demanded that I, as the controlling member of Christmas, secure their jobs and get things running again. So I took what little money was left and I repurposed some equipment to start producing toys instead of refining coal. The elves were back to work, and we had a marketable product that people loved.
And things got better.
That year, we turned the first profit that the company had seen in many years. But I knew that we could do better.
Oh, please elaborate.
Objection, Your Honor.
On what grounds, Mr. Phil?
This testimony is clearly upsetting my client. He's foaming at the mouth.
Overruled, and please get your client a towel or a bucket or something. Continue, Mr. Klaus.
The coal mine was costing us an arm and a leg. Mostly legs. I called a meeting with the union reps and asked if they would take issue with relocating the company to a cheaper location. I put forth several areas that had better land fees and excellent tax breaks for companies willing to relocate. In the end, the elves agreed and settled on the North Pole.
So the North Pole was not your decision?
Hell no. It was a majority vote. I personally was pulling for the Dominican. But the North Pole had the best tax incentives.
Well, it sounds to me that you took everyone's best interest to heart here. You even let the elves, despite no longer owning shares in the company, vote on major company decisions.
Happy employees are the ones who stand by you. Plus, we couldn't afford a strike.
Well, that just seems like a win for everyone. Your Honor, no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gorps. Mr. Phil, your witness.
Mr. Klaus, Saint Nick, Père Noël. These are all you?
Of course. The children all over the world have many names for me.
Are these names they gave you, or simply the names you provided?
I don't catch your meaning, sir.
Are these names you provide whilst conducting your illegal activities?
I beg your pardon.
Objection, badgering the witness.
Sustained, Mr. Phil. Is there a point?
I'm simply pointing out that how can we trust a man with multiple identities, who has already been accused of identity theft, who is known to enter people's homes uninvited?
Your Honor, if my client is uninvited, then why do children leave out milk and cookies as thanks for his kindness?
Mr. Phil, please stick to the subject at hand. I will not allow for these theatrics. Please get back on topic so we can get through this.
Very well, I guess we only enforce certain laws in this court.
Mr. Phil, your tone is going to cause your client to be without counsel if it continues.
Apologies, Your Honor.
Don't let it happen again. You may continue.
Mr. Klaus, let us get back to the fact that you owned shares in an Alberta oil company at the time that you were hired by my client. Did you not see this as a conflict of interest? Well, would it not benefit you to drive down the profits of a competing company?
Well, that was not my intent.
And then to turn around and buy up the shares of that competing company would seem to scream of insider trading.
Objection!
Thus making your hostile takeover of Christmas completely illegal.
Objection!
Immoral and very intentional despite your pretense and good deeds.
Objection! Leading the witness!
You are a criminal. You should be treated as such. Also, your likeness being represented as toys, merchandise, statues, and pictures makes Christmas about you. Your narcissism has no bounds, sir.
Objectification, Your Honor.
Don't you mean objection?
I know what I said.
Watch your tone. Sustained.
No further questions.
That wasn't necessary to first as a brand.
We wish you a merry trial. Everybody's in denial. It's become a steaming pile and very unclear.
I think we can safely move into the closing arguments. Does either the defense or the plaintiff have any other witnesses they'd like to call?
No, Your Honor.
I was hoping you'd say that. Mr. Phil, you first.
From time immemorial, the Mon family has been running Christmas with much success, the best success. Although it is true that in the past century, the demand for coal has diminished. Who doesn't like getting a lovely, dirty lump of coal in their stocking at this special time of year? Anyone? Well, I know I do. This wouldn't have been possible without the hard work and dedication of this demon, Mr. Krampus. Sure, the spirit has changed. Yes, it is not the same as it was before. Not everyone is down with heating their homes with something that gives you black lung. That's a stigma. We have to move away from prejudice. You have to remember that if it wasn't for the original meaning of Christmas, brought to you by Mr. Krampus and his hard-working family, all your ancestors would be dead. Thank you.
That was grim.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Things change. Even though the Mon family may have been the originators of Christmas, everything evolves. Whereas before it was about coal and heating your home, Christmas is now about sharing, giving, helping others, love. All the great things we need to have when it's minus 30 below and there's still 3 months until the thaw. You're welcome. This is what Mr. Klaus has brought to the holiday. Yes, warming your home is important, but so is warming our hearts.
Oh, you suck up.
That's why I want you to think of Santa Claus as the true owner of Christmas. He's brought so much to it. It would be a shame to revert to what it was before, don't you think?
No.
Dear audience, I guess now is as good a time as any to tell you that you are also the jury. Surprise! You can thank me later. Needless to say, we need you to make a decision one way or the other in this case. One, if I might add, of the most important cases brought before this court in the last several centuries. No pressure, by the way. Just take a deep breath and imagine you are deciding the fate of the world, which you are. Everything will be fine. So for this part, I'm going to need you to clap. Can you do that? By applause, do you, the audience and jury of this trial, consider Krampus D. Mon the owner and proprietor of Christmas? Clap now or forever hold your peace.
Yes, give it up for Krampy.
Okay. By applause, do you, the audience and jury of this trial, consider Santa Claus the owner and proprietor of Christmas? Clap now or forever regret your neglect of duty. Ah, there you go. By the powers
abducting all your children.
By the powers vested in me and majority applause, I'd like to declare the winner of this trial.
We wish to interject, ma'am. We wish to interject, ma'am. We wish to interject, ma'am. Introduce evidence.
Not you again.
Yes, but it's not what you think. I have evidence that is crucial to this trial.
But why now?
For dramatic effect. A plot twist. And if I'd come out right at the beginning of the show, there wouldn't have been one. First of all, I am not a simple narrator. My name is Bob the Baker, and I am the original owner of Christmas.
Excuse me, you're the what?
Preposterous!
Uh-oh.
I was part of the original tribe that began Christmas eons ago.
What proof do you have of this?
Fruitcake?
What did you call me?
No. It's what we made and still do, in fact. Fruitcake. We never abandoned Christmas. We were just so busy making fruitcake that we had no time to attend to it. Do you have any idea the time it takes to make a good fruitcake?
I can't say I honestly ever cared or knew that there was such a thing as good fruitcake.
Have you tried soaking it in rum?
Sounds like a perfectly good waste of rum. But I may as well indulge your question. How much time does it take to make a good fruitcake?
Years, Your Honor. It takes years. In any event, my tribe doesn't want to have the entire holiday returned to us. Too labor-intensive. We're still making fruitcake. We would, however, like to be recognized and have a share in the enterprise. We think that would be fair. Why don't I let the fine folks of Adipose Bakeries tell you about it in this informative video?
Here at Adipose Bakeries R&D facilities, we pride ourselves on our dedication to food innovation. We take everyday foods, such as hot dogs, donuts, and fruitcake. Then we ask, can we do it better? The answer more often than not is, yes, we can. So join me now as we at Adipose Bakeries reinvent everyone's favorite holiday treat, the fruitcake. Let me introduce you to Gary.
Hi there.
Gary is head of our advanced genetics lab here in charge of growing the cakes.
When you say it like that, it sounds a little creepy.
Maybe I'll let you explain the process to these fine folks.
I'd be happy to. Here at the Adipose Bakeries R&D facilities, we use only the best genetically enhanced DNA to gestate our cakes. Each cake is grown from a single almost bird egg and fertilized by organic flour and sugar. The fertilized eggs are placed in our patented gestation tanks, where they mature for 4 years.
You make it sound like these cakes are alive.
They are.
Wait, what? Are you serious?
Not alive like you or I. These are merely brainless clones created from genetic materials collected from fossil records of the first fruitcakes.
This one seems to be trying to attack me through the gestation chamber glass.
Yes, as you know, prehistoric fruitcakes were very aggressive. But we will take care of that in step 2 of the process.
You mean there's more?
Of course. What would fruitcake be without maraschino cherries?
You're making my mouth water, Gary.
That's just a decontamination mist. Follow me. This is where the maraschino cherry magic firing range happens.
Firing range?
How else are you going to put them slithering, sugary confections down?
Heavens to Betsy, you gave me quite the scare, sir.
This is Francis. He's in charge of neutralizing the cakes. I'll leave you in his capable hands.
Tell me, Mr. Prim and Proper, have you ever seen what a maraschino cherry traveling at 70 kilometers an hour can do to a cake?
No, actually, I think...
The answer is not a hell of a lot. Penetrating that tough fruitcake exterior membrane requires semi-automatic rounds, fired at high velocities with armor-piercing cherries. That's where Greta comes in.
Oh, Greta? Is she an engineer or somebody else that I could talk to?
I like you, Mr. Prim. Greta's my gun. An Adipose Bakeries limited edition fully automatic FC-13, calibrated to fire 30 maraschino cherries per second.
Why the heavy artillery?
Sending in specimen 2763.
You can't get too close to them cakes. They may not have a brain, but that just makes them all the more wild. The only one instinct, to rip that dopey smile off your face. So...
Still out of cherries.
Confirmation on neutralization of 2763.
Confirmed!
Oh my, I think it's still moving.
Oh, that's just the nervous system. But just to be sure, that's where step 3 comes in, the walnuts. This is where you'll get an up-close and personal visit with our little fruitcake friend. But first, you gotta put on one of them fancy hazmat suits and meet Tim in the walnut insertion bay.
Well, hello. You must be Tim.
Yes, I'm just one of the fruitcake wrangler and walnut insertion team.
Fascinating. And why are we wearing these hazmat suits?
Well, until these nuts are inserted into the cake, the fruitcakes can be rather volatile. You see, these are special walnuts that have been genetically altered to neutralize the nervous system of the fruitcake, leaving them inert and ready for consumption.
Well, color me excited. Let's get to it. I'm told you have very special tools used for the process.
Well, yes, we do have those, but I've been doing this for years, and I like to use a more hands-on approach. Okay, Control, I'm inserting the first walnut now.
Roger that. Proceed with caution.
None needed.
Are you sure about this? This looks very dangerous.
First nut insertion complete. hold on. Having a little resistance.
Is it supposed to be doing that?
Report.
It's sticking to my glove.
Your glove? Why the hell are you touching it?
Oh, God, it's crawling up my hand, and it's eating through the glove.
Initiating lockdown and incineration protocol.
You better get out of here.
What's going on?
Oh, Jesus.
Incineration in 5, 4.
Tell my wife
3.
her alimony payments
2,
just stopped.
1.
Enjoy my house, you.
Well, I think that was the wrong tape. I'm pretty sure that was for the insurance company. I can get the real tape if you like.
No, thank you. I think we get the picture. But honestly, Mr. Bob.
Baker
Bob, you could have led with that at the beginning of the trial. This has been 2 hours of my existence I'm never getting back. I could have been working on my whole global warming scheme. I'll allow the evidence. Do the plaintiff or the defense have any objection to this arrangement?
None, Your Honor.
Then I will award Baker Bob a 4% stake in the company, which leaves 48 to Santa and 48 to Mr. Krampus. Mr. Baker Bob will therefore be the swing vote on any board meetings. This trial is adjourned. Merry Christmas.
Wait! Does this mean that Santa and I are equal partners?
I believe that's what she's saying, Crampy.
That's all I ever wanted, to be your equal. That and abduct and punish naughty children. Ha!
Oh, Crampy, you've always been my equal. I've only ever wanted what is best for you and the elves. Can't say I approve of all the kidnappings, but let's let bygones be bygones.
Did someone say kidnappings?
Oh, Loki!
Santa, I have one more thing to say. Should old acquaintance be forgot and ever brought to mind?
For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne, and surely you'll buy your pine cup, and surely I'll buy mine. And we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.